negative self-talk.
Oh,
We talk to ourselves ways most people talk to themselves. They wouldn't allow any other human being to talk to them like that.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's, again, getting those mindset shifts. Oh, I'm such a loser, I'm a fail. No, you're not. And the fact that you're concerned about things and you're worried about the people working for you and things like that tells me you're a good leader. Kat, my first boss after college was Tim Farr. And we did something, we were at the top statistically in our department, company wide. And there was some bigwig in congratulating him. And he went, "It's not me, my team." That lesson stuck with me because we had another manager in that office. It was, look what I did, look what I did. And they had turnover insane in that department because that person had issues. And I had a boss that never, he just passed the credit down and he took the blame when things didn't go well, but he always passed the credit down. It isn't me, it's my team. And I've been fortunate. I can count a few bosses like that. I've had a few good ones over the years when I've not been self-employed. And the worst part about those bosses is you have to work harder for them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to ever disappoint or lose respect in their eyes.
Yeah, I think that if you haven't watched this series in a sequential order, it would be a good point right now to go back and listen to the energy series, because I think that what we were talking about in the energy series here is that's the natural transition. How do you feel about the position that you're in, even at work or even in that relationship with another person? Because that's the check-in that we referred to in the energy series.
Yes,
about being
point.
Around other people. If you are feeling like, hey, this is it, right? I'm watching this Fear of Success series because I think it's relevant to me. One of the things that I always tell people, or I describe a situation to, is called put a shark in your tank. And I love this story. When I heard it, I actually heard it quite a few years ago and I'm still talking about it. So it rang true for me. It was a story about a very high-end restaurant in New York serving seafood. And obviously there is not any kind of seafood organically in New York City. So they were flying it from the West Coast to New York City. And by the time it would get to New York City, the fish that was supposed to be in a live tank was dead. And no one could figure out why, in a matter of hours, all of the fish were going from the West Coast to New York City and would be dead that fast. And what they discovered was if they put a shark in the tank, that not all of the fish would be alive when they got to them, but a whole lot more of them were. And it proved that they needed that fight or flight instinct to continue swimming. If they just
Get
put them
them
in
to
the
move.
yeah, if they just put them in a tank, they would in essence drown. Right. So in the real world application, we need a little bit of competition. We need people around us that are going to push and really encourage us to get out of our box, out of our comfort zone, as my boyfriend tells me all the time, get out of your comfort zone. And and I think that it is extremely applicable to those of us who think, man, I'm tired, right? Like, I'm done working this dang hard. But we also know we want something bigger. And what are we willing to do to put a shark in our tank?
It's true. And you made me think of a quote by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure, and it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And that's the quote where everyone stops. And it goes on, though. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, courageous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us, and not just some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Liberated
they always
from
do
our
that
own fear.
first part, huh?
Liberated from our own fear.
Our own fear. And they always read that first little part about, but the whole quote is beautiful because it goes right to what we're talking about in this series, liberating ourselves from our fear. Well, what if? And you and I know what percentage of the things that people are afraid of actually happen. It's like a dot in a giant circle, but we put all our energy on the what if. What if it goes even better than you thought?
Yeah. So I will tell you another great story about my dad. For those of you who don't know me, I talk about my dad a lot. He's a really good guy. So my dad used to 9 years. My dad has been gone for 9 years. So even 9 years ago, cash was still a thing. My dad would pay cash when we would all go out to dinner, and he would jingle the change in his pocket. So 9 years ago, I still had little people around my house, and he would ask my kids if they wanted to trade whatever they had in their hand. So we're talking tooth fairy money at this point in their lives, or if they were allowed to pay the bill. Maybe Papa still had other money in his pocket, if they wanted to trade. For little kids, this is a big deal because Papa potentially had whatever he in his pocket could be significant. And sometimes they didn't want to trade. Like the $2 bill that came from the tooth fairy was kind of a big deal around our house. But, it could have been, who knows? He was teaching a couple things. Are you worried about what's going on? What happens if you lose? Risk. And my children now, 10, 11, 12, 13 years later, my children have such that fear is so small. Yet as adults, we blow it so far out of proportion. And I wish I would have been the one that was wise enough I feel like once I have grandkids, I feel like I'm going to walk around jingling change in my pocket just to make my, manifest what my dad was doing. But if we thought of it that simple, if our grandfather was walking around jingling change, would I jingle that? Would I trade what I have for potentially the change sound in my dad's pocket?